13 dumbest things in golf. So golf is a wonderful sport, and the vast majority of things associated with it are equally as grand. However, in a game played by so many amateurs, run by multiple governing bodies and stakeholders where everyone seems to think they're an expert, there are a few protocols, rules, traditions, you name it, that simply don't make much sense. Worse is that some have been around so long they're naturally accepted as being perfectly okay. Don't be hornswoggled into that group. Here are 13 things the game could easily do without. The guy who makes the hole-in-one buys the drinks. Golf has a few things backward, but this might be the most egregious. People who did absolutely nothing other than be on the premises are getting a free cocktail, while the guy or gal who slam dunked it in the hole gets a whopper of a bar bill. We understand the tradition. We're just saying it's a bit messed up. Thinking you're dialing in your distances with range balls. Oh man, you're just banging down that 100-yard flag with your wedges on the range, leaving you thoroughly convinced you've got that shot dialed in. Yeah, not even close. Unless, of course, you use a one-piece range ball out on the course. The range is a fun place, and while you can work on your swing, you can't work on your distance control unless you're using the exact same ball you play on the course. Oh, and getting fit for that new driver with range balls isn't so hot an idea either. In other words, there's a reason tour pros don't practice with red stripers. The par 3, play up. Come on up. Go ahead, come on up. To speed the pace of play on a jammed course. It is such a nice idea. Wave the people up on the par 3 holes when you're on the green to keep things moving along. The problem is, when it comes to pace of play, you can only move as fast as the people ahead of you. And if the people ahead of you are standing aside for 5 minutes, 4 times a round while you tee off, then you're not speeding up play. You're slowing it down, period. You know, in some instances, I understand. In others, not so much. Multi-hole playoffs at major championships. There's not a shred of common sense that can explain a 2-hole US Open, 3-hole PGA, or 4-hole Open Championship playoff. If someone jumps out to a lead, you're rooting for the other person to tie them up, essentially leading to sudden death anyway. Or you get to watch Tom Watson toss away a tournament of brilliance by watching him go double bogey when it was clear to all he couldn't catch Stewart Sink. And wouldn't have Tiger Woods' putt and point birdie on 16 at Valhalla been better off as a walk-off instead of dueling pars for 2 more holes? Since it adopted sudden death in 1979, the Masters, as usual, gets it right. Sudden death is definitive and more exciting. It also brings a bigger certainty of finishing on Sunday. 8-minute tee time intervals. We're not against course operators making a living, and the 8-minute interval definitely helps stuff more people out onto the tee sheet. But let's do some simple math here. 8 minutes times 18 is 144 minutes, or 2 hours 24 minutes. Now, we applaud fast play, but no one moves that swiftly. Eventually, golfers will think twice about coming back to your course due to the slow play that will inevitably ensue. No lasers on tour. The USGA and PGA Tour are against bifurcation, yet allow everyday golfers to use rangefinders, but not tour players. They also claim they want to speed up play, yet they encourage players and caddies to step off yardages, engage in endless babble while staring intently at a yardage book, and cause the player to weigh every option because he has some doubt in his head. Meanwhile, all they have to do is allow them to haul out the rangefinder and zap the number. I mean, yes, it is Tour Pro cool not to use one, but common sense, anyone? Staff bags. We've said it once, we'll say it again. Unless you're driving a courtesy car and have a reserved parking spot at next week's tour event, there is zero reason for having a bag that looks like a piece of luggage. Most carry bags can easily double as a cart bag, and you'll make friends with the bagroom guys who no longer risk a hernia by lifting your sticks. And while we're at it, we're okay with the tour pros doing away with these behemoths doubling as advertising billboards as well. $500 green face? Hey, we like playing the great courses too, but we also like things like, well, being able to buy food. You know, we understand it's the law of supply and demand, but green fees that close in on a $500 are absurd. It's reserved for the same people who paid $500 so their teenage daughter could go to a One Direction concert. At its height, Brandon Dunes is $325 for non-resort guest, and you can play it for as little as $45 resort guest replay in January, which leaves enough cash to feed a family of 4. Juniors, college kids playing in club championships. Whether kids of members should be allowed to compete in the club championship is an argument nearly as old as the game itself. On one hand, it's supposed to be the best player in the club, but that's a weak argument. Letting kids in leaves an unbalanced playing field. While the working stiffs who are footing the bill struggle to get in 18 a week, juniors playing 36 a day while hitting balls or practice putting at lunch before hitting the club pool to cool off. And there's nothing fun about watching the best of the old guard get dusted 9 and 8 in the 36-hole final by a wannabe tour pro. Plus, it's just wrong to buy a new champ a lemonade instead of a beer. I don't know about that one. That was kind of a weak argument. Brush tees. The website for the company marketing the brush tee claims users can gain 7 yards due to a lower friction compared to a wooden tee. Yeah, I don't think so. Come on, it's a tee for goodness sake, not some supersonic driver. Plus, you look like a chopper when you haul out something that looks like a device for maybe shining shoes. We'll stick with the wooden tee, preferably non-colored. The term mashed potatoes and other things yelled at tour players. Okay, so we applaud fan engagement and a new approach to fandom at PGA Tour events, but to the idiot who first screamed, "Mashed potatoes!" as Tiger Woods unleashed a drive at the 2010 PGA, we've been shaking our heads ever since. For some reason, 9 years later, people still think it's humorous. It's not. It's annoying. Time for some new material. Like silence. Mulligans. Although golf might be a game of redemption, it shouldn't be with this lame, albeit time-honored tradition. Mulligans aren't for golfers. They're for those weak of the soul. One of the great things of the game is that you own your poor shots. That includes off the first tee. Shot counters. Oh, dear God. We're all about participation and getting people out on the golf course, especially beginners and those less skilled. Why else do you think we have all these nifty instruction pages in the magazine and on the Golf Digest website? But if you need advice to help you count your strokes, then stop keeping score until you've gotten good enough to count them in your head. All right.